Hello students, I am Dr. Sangeeta Singh from JDV Government Girls College Kota. I am going to teach you General English for BSc Part 1. Dear students, this is the third part of the first story of our prescribed textbook. Last time we were at the point of this story where Gangu had told the master about his intention to marry the ill-famed widow Gomti. Now I start with the remaining part of the conversation between Gangu and the master. So I am reading it aloud for your convenience. I start. I felt both annoyed with and sympathetic towards Gangu. Why couldn't this stupid man find another woman to marry? I said to myself. I was certain that she would not stick to him for more than a few days. If he had been better off financially, she might have stuck on for 6 months or so, but now I was sure the marriage would not last more than a few days. Are you aware of her past? I asked him. It's all lies, sir, he said with great conviction. People have given her a bad name for nothing. What nonsense, I said. Can you deny that she had left 3 husbands? What could she do? Replied Gangu unperturbed. If those people turn her out. What a fool you are, I added. Can you really believe that a man comes all the way to marry a woman, spends thousands of rupees on the marriage, only to turn her out in the end? Gangu replied almost with the zeal of a poet. Where there is no love, you cannot expect a woman to stay on. You cannot win a woman with mere board and lodging. Those people who married her thought that they were doing her a great favor by marrying a widow and took it for granted that she would do everything for their sake. But to win someone over, one has first to forget about oneself, and besides, sir, she gets fit sometimes, start talking all sorts of nonsense and becomes unconscious. People say that she is under the influence of a witch. So, in these last two clips which I read aloud recently, Gangu is constantly speaking in favor of Gomti. And in the last slide, we see that almost he sounds like a revolutionary poet or a feminist. So he continues, and you want to marry such a woman? I said, don't you realize that you are asking for trouble? Gangu replies in the tone of a martyr, God willing, I shall make something of myself if I get her. So you have decided finally? I asked him. Yes, sir, he replied. All right, I said. In that case, I accept your resignation. Normally, I don't believe in old customs and meaningless traditions. In this particular case, however, I considered it definitely dangerous to keep in the house a man who was intent on marrying a woman of such doubtful reputation. So, in the last slide, we see that ultimately the master accepts his resignation, and he knows that Gangu is bent upon marrying that woman. It might lead to all sorts of complications. To my mind, Gangu, in marrying this woman, was behaving like a starving man. That the piece of bread was dry and tasteless was immaterial to him. I considered it wise to keep aloof. 5 months passed. Gangu had married Gomti and was living in the same mohalla in a thatched hut. He was now earning a living as a hawker. Whenever I met him on the road, I stopped to inquire about his welfare. His life was a matter of great interest to me. I was impatient to know how it would all end. However, I always found him happy. His face had a glow which only comes with complete lack of worry. He earned about a rupee every day. After buying his stock, he was left with about 10 annas or so. In this slide, the author is describing Gangu's life after his marriage to Gomti and what sort of feeling he was living with after his marriage. Uh, he wants to say that all in all, Gangu was happy after his marriage. There must be some supernatural power in those 10 annas to give him such complete contentment. One day I heard that Gomti had run away. I don't know why, but this gave me a great pleasure. It was perhaps that Gangu's self confidence and ease had always made me envious. I was happy that I had been proved right after all. He would now realize that the people who had dissuaded him from marrying Gomti were really his well wishers. What a fool he was, I thought to myself, to consider marrying Gomti a matter of good fortune, even to consider it as entering paradise. I was impatient to meet him. In this slide, the author is feeling happy because he has been proved right as he had discouraged Gangu to marry Gomti. He didn't want that Gangu should marry Gomti. So he was happy that he was right because Gomti had run away once again. Next slide. He looked completely shattered when I met him that afternoon. Seeing me, he started to cry and said, Babuji, Gomti has left me. I replied with faint sympathy, I told you in the beginning to keep away from her, but you did not listen. Has she taken away your belongings also? Gangu put his hands on his heart as if I had blasphemed and said, Don't say that, Babuji, she hasn't taken a thing. Her own stuff is still lying here. I don't know what shortcomings she found in me that she decided to leave. I am sure I wasn't good enough for her. She was educated and I am an absolute illiterate. If I could have stayed on with her a little longer, she would have made a man out of me. Whatever she might have been for other men, for me she was definitely a goddess. I must have been at fault somewhere that she decided to leave. In this we find that Gangu is not blaming Gomti for running away, leaving him. He is blaming himself. He is finding faults within himself. He is analyzing the situation in the way where he finds himself guilty and he thinks because of his shortcomings, Gomti has left him. Next slide. I was most disappointed at Gangu's words. I had been certain that he would tell me a tale of faithlessness on the part of Gomti and that I would have to show sympathy towards him. But it seemed that this fool still had his eyes closed, or perhaps he had lost his sense of perception. I said, half in the jest, So, she hasn't taken away anything from the house. No, not even a penny's worth. And she loved you very much? What more can I say, Babuji? I shall not forget her till I die. And yet she decided to leave you. This is what surprised me. This is what surprises me. Have you ever heard the old saying, frailty thy name is woman? So this is interesting conversation between Gangu and the narrator in this slide. Gangu's words are full of disappointment. He is full of grief and he says that she has not taken anything. He finds himself lovelorn and he is in true love with her, and he is surprised also why she has left him. At this point, the author uses Shakespeare's quotation, frailty thy name is woman. Oh, don't say that, Babuji. I would never for a moment believe that in respect of her. Then go and find her out if you are still so attached to her. Yes, master. I won't get any respite till I have found her. If only I knew where to look for her, I am certain that she will come back to me. I must go and search for her. I will see you when I come back, if I am still alive. And saying this, he went away. In these lines, we see that Gangu is bent upon searching her and he wants to find her out. He is confident that she will be with him in some days, after some days, and he is going to search for her. Next slide. After this incident, I had to go to Nainital and returned after nearly a month. I had barely taken off my clothes when I saw Gangu standing with a newborn baby. He was bursting with joy. Even Nanda could not have felt such joy at getting Krishna. His face had the same glow that appears on the face of a starved man after a full meal. I asked him again in jest, have you had any news of Gomti Devi? I believe you went in search of her. Gangu said, beaming with joy, I have found her at last, Babuji. She was in the women's hospital in Lucknow. She had told a friend here that if I was very upset, I should be informed about her whereabouts. As soon as I heard it, I went to Lucknow and brought her back. I have also got this child in the bargain. He showed me the child almost with the pride of an athlete showing off a newly won medal. This scene is quite interesting. The author is facing Gangu, and Gangu is carrying a newborn child, an infant, and the child, he thinks that this child belongs to him. The author compares his joy with Nanda and Krishna tale, and he expresses Gangu's happiness over getting this child. Gangu was so much overjoyed by having that son or child in his lap as if he was getting a medal. Next slide. I was surprised at his shamelessness. He has not been married to Gomti for more than 6 months, and yet he was displaying the child with great pride. I said tauntingly, "Oh, so you have got a boy also. This is perhaps why she ran away. Are you sure this is your child?" "Why mine, Babuji? It's God's. It was born in Lucknow, wasn't it?" "Yes, Babuji. It was a month old only yesterday." "How long have you been married?" "This is the seventh month." "So this child was born within 6 months of your marriage?" "Yes," said Gangu, undisturbed. "And still you consider it is your child." So, very interesting conversation going on between Gangu and his master. The master wants to hint that the child does not belong to him. "Yes, sir. Are you in your senses?" I asked. I was not quite certain whether he did not understand what I was trying to hint at or whether he was intentionally misunderstanding me. "She had a very difficult time," said Gangu in the same tone. "It was almost a new life for her, Babuji. For full 3 days and 3 nights she was in pain. Oh, it was unbearable." This was the point for me to interrupt, and I said, "This is the first time I have heard of a child being born within 6 months of marriage." This question surprised Gangu. He said with an impish smile, "This has never bothered me." This was the reason perhaps why Gomti had left the house. I told her that if she did not love me, she could leave me by all means, and I would not bother her again. But if she did love me, she must not let the child separate us. I would love it as my own. After all, when one takes a harvested field, one does not refuse the crop merely because someone else had sown it. He gave a hearty laugh. I was most touched by Gangu's sentiments and felt an utter fool. I extended my hands and took the child from Gangu and kissed. In this slide, we see Gangu's innate goodness and Master's bewilderment over his feelings and sentiments. Ultimately, the master takes that boy from Gangu's lap. Gangu said, "Babuji, you are the embodiment of goodness. I often talk to Gomti about you and have many times asked her to come and pay her respects to you, but she is so bashful. I, the embodiment of goodness. My middle class morality stood ashamed at Gangu's courage and sincerity." "You are the embodiment of goodness," I said, "and this child adds charm to it. Let me come with you and meet Gomti." And we both went to Gangu's house. So here the story ends. We will discuss all other things about grammar, about difficult word meanings and questions in the next video. So here I end this video. I hope you enjoyed this story.